Welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan. And we're recording another episode. It's while I'm still in town right now. We're actually doing this in an extra bedroom at my folks' house, and we still have family over, so I'm just kind of waiting for like someone just to walk in, like, go! Don't look at me! You know?
Well, there's always that weird thing. I always thought this was funny. It's like during Thanksgiving, I went up to my grandparents' house, and Ryan asked, he's like, well, does your grandpa have internet? How about we just do a podcast from up there? And my first thing was like, one, he doesn't have internet, but two, I'm like, that's going to seem so weird because I'm going to go into this other room like, don't mind me, fellas, I'm going to go in the other room for a bit and talk to this guy. My grandpa's going to look over and go, is that his gay lover? What's he doing in there for 2 hours? They're getting really loud and all I hear is dick and ass.
This girl he brought with him, is she just for show?
Because she's not even allowed in there for some reason.
No, I'm kind of expecting the same thing. You just do one thing. We're just going to go in this room for a while and talk. You guys can't come in.
Can we be part of it? No. No.
You feel kind of weird saying, what is it? Well, it's like an internet show for the radio, kind of. Hey, what's up? Here we go. This is what we're talking about.
Hey, Brian, will you be here when you get back?
I'm actually probably meeting you guys a little later.
Oh.
Yeah, you're on the show, by the way, so you can download it at some point if you want.
Wait, what?
We're recording a podcast. You're going to be on the show
Not
later.
live, but close to it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where?
iTunes.
Oh. All right, we'll see you later.
I'll see you guys. See you guys at the restaurant later.
All
Right?
right. Bye, guys.
See ya, take care. We'll see you in a bit.
Bye.
Okay.
But just like that.
Exactly. See, it's all bound to happen.
Yeah.
It's funny when people, like, when you tell them they're on, like, the air, then they're like, oh, fuck. There must just be this little voice that comes in their head that just says, don't say something stupid, don't say something stupid, don't say something stupid.
Plus, I don't know why people couldn't see it, but it was so unnatural. I got up and just did this like pose, like arm against this like
Hi.
Hi, how you doing? Other hand
I'm
on my
Ryan
head.
Dunigan.
Hey guys, how
Welcome
you
to the
doing? Welcome in. You know?
show. Would you like a tour of the office?
Yeah. I think I could see the microphone, like, you're on the show right now. Like, how, like, creepy.
Like, what, you guys talking to that chair sitting there? It's
Yeah, because it's a weird angle.
that's the microphone just tripod for the day. Probably true. She probably can't see it whatsoever. So she's probably just like, why the two of them? They just set a chair between each other and just start talking to it.
Dudes are like, you're on the show. It's a good thing we only see this guy during the fucking holidays.
Jesus Christ! Now he's all full of himself. Now fucking drinking a Diet Pepsi and leaning up against the bedpost saying, "Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm on
kill
a
the
show.
magic.
Pretty cool, huh?"
You gotta kill the magic of Diet Pepsi.
I'm on a diet. Can't go full Pepsi right now, man. I was going hardcore earlier, but I've got to bring it down a bit.
I had a bunch of rum and cokes last night, so now it's just...
Dude, I haven't had a fucking strawberry soda shack in a long time.
I never had that, man.
You never had the strawberry one?
I don't like strawberry soda.
I normally don't, but this soda shack strawberry is actually pretty good.
I don't.
It's probably the one I've had the least amount, but I'll probably say though I think I like it more than just the regular cream soda of the soda shack. Why that's important? Not so much, but they didn't have orange, so you can see why I got this one.
You settled.
But yeah.
But anyway.
Well, we went and saw The Interview today in one of only like 70 theaters in all of America that's showing it.
Having to play at Angel's Camp of all places.
Yeah, in Angel's Camp, it's like little teeny kind of gold miner town. In general, somebody would say out in the middle of nowhere, because it's close enough to being like that, but such a nice, lovely town without, hatred and commercialism and so on. And it's also got one of the only theaters in all of the U.S., or all of California, my bad. 1 out of 10 theaters that's not commercially owned, independent, just a guy in Angel's Camp owns it, and it's been like that for 30 years or so. Mm-hmm. It used to be actually beforehand. It was a place where they played music and had bands and so on there.
Because they even have small like stages in these theaters. It's a really nice theater.
I think it used to be like one big stage, and then they just kind of chopped it into about like 5 or 6. I'm always so confused on how many cinemas are in there. Because, they always have about like 6 or 7 movies playing, but they do that kind of flip-flop thing where they play one movie, then they go to another movie, then they go back to the first one, and so on.
Well, apparently there's 2 or 3 rooms there I didn't know about. You told me about, and I was like, so we're getting, but if they actually have like those small like 30-person like theaters in there, which almost looks kind of like a jerk-off theater from like Taxi Driver, only they're really nice and the floor is not sticky with jizz.
It was literally like that, because when the Artist came out, I went to go see it at that theater, and then we got put in this tiny room, no bigger than this bedroom really, no, maybe a little bit bigger than this, but still, about the size of 2 regular bedrooms or so, as I said, about 30, 40 people maximum. It was almost like a personal viewing screen. And I was just like, oh, it's different, but good enough for me. Mm-hmm. And I thought that's what we were going to have with this movie, but they put it in like the medium-sized theater, which is still small.
Yeah,
but
a little bigger.
Yeah, but this is one of these theaters. I just love this theater, anyways. If it was just a little bit closer, I would go to every single movie, no matter what, to see it there. Even though I know they don't have everything, but they do show a lot of independent movies that won't be showed at commercial theaters and so on. But in their two like main cinemas, they got these great murals on the side of the wall. One of them's got like a gold panner, fucking panning for gold, and the other one's got a stagecoach going across. I mean, you don't see it when the movie shows up, but it gives you something to look at while you're waiting.
Yeah.
And I also like too is like they actually have those local commercials that come on the screen before the movie, not a bunch of like crap like, you know, what's going on in like TV land, and it's like, I don't know, fuck that TV place. I'm here for the movies because I don't like TV.
The ridiculous like Microsoft tablet commercial where everybody's at a meeting and they just start like backflipping and tap dancing
and
with
slamming their like tablets down. It's like, what kind of, who slams an electronic equipment down?
She's like, this is socially irresponsible. We're be teaching our kids to like fight each other with their fucking tablets and breakdance with them.
You only beat your TV when it's not working right.
I just got an image of just some like, you know, like some trailer park guy just wearing nothing but like a Warrant t-shirt, beer gut, fucking like stain, like tidy whitey. He's just like, the fucking iPad ain't working. He's like slamming it against his like coffee table.
It's like, oh, there we go. Yeah. Back to my soap opera. Well, pretty much everybody's probably had a TV at some point in time that you had to give it a good hit and it works again.
Yeah, actually.
You know, where it's just like, I had this one, I think it was a Sylvania one, and it passed away some years ago by now. But
passed away. It lives on in our hearts.
In my hearts, it lives there with my Mitsubishi and my Fisher. Well, actually, the Fisher's still alive, but the Fisher's almost like in a retirement home where it just kind of sits there. You know, once in a while it gets used. Every once in a while I take it out, go, okay, Grandpa, get in the car. I'll go show you the sights, then we'll take you back to your corner. Back to your corner in the house where my Arnold Schwarzenegger poster sits on top of it. My speakers are in front of you, but it's a good place for you. But my Sylvania it would get like staticky and stuff when I was playing like Sega Genesis and stuff. But if I get a little slap on top of the head, it went back to normal. But I always feel like, you know, when you beat an electronic, it may work for a while, but you're really just causing death like much earlier than normal.
Yeah, no, I said this several times on the podcast, but about a few months back, my Xbox was a long day. I knew it was well past warranty. I went and got, because it was at the point where it was overheating really quickly, so I went and got a wire, a metal wire shelf, and I just kind of put it together, put the Xbox there, and the thing immediately got the red ring. As soon as I got it just for the shelf, I got, fucking piece of shit! No one, already being angry, knowing the thing's well past warranty, I just punched the thing and walked out of the room.
Like 2001 Space Odyssey beginning, like the monkey just first learning how to use the tool.
You could have just put me in slow motion. Da 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 da. Just I wonder how much this sounded from to my roommates the next room over. Just
so, just going back and forth in the room.
Fucking Zack Snyder, slow motion. Fucking Xbox controller coming down on top of the fucking Xbox. Shot of the controller spinning in the air, then cut to thousands of years later.
Man finally learns to appreciate technology.
No, but so what ends up happening is I end up thousands, millions years. What am I saying? Anyway,
thousands of millions of years later.
If we're going by the Bible, apparently thousands of years, whatever, millions of years later. Okay, so now what ends up happening is it works. The thing I come back to the thing and it works for a whole for a whole I guess 4 weeks. Thing totally works. I'm still a little weary on it. Then when it finally breaks again, does not turn back on. Not even after I punch it, still doesn't work. I haven't got my copy of...
But my punches always work.
I thought I had maybe some kind of Fonzie-esque power,
Hey!
Just go on the road, just hey, my Xbox isn't working. I just punch it. What the fuck are you doing? Now it worked for mine.
Hey! Just give him a thumbs up.
Did it work? Oh, that'll be $40.
What if the Fonz went on tour just fixing electronics?
Across the country.
Yeah, that's what he did. He just got paid to do it. That was how he could make these cross-country trips.
I think that Fonz on the road, I'd be down for see that.
Yeah, maybe it's a later days after Happy Days, so it takes place in the 70s or something like that. So he's fixing
finally got kicked out of
he's
garage.
Fixing Atari cabinets and everything. Yeah, they're finally oh, we found something you're actually good at other than laying women. Hey.
And he just at some point they just reached the point where he's some old man. He just can't travel along no more. He has Alzheimer's. They just keep him in the broom closet of some arcade or whatever.
They pull him out. He's like Dracula almost. Like they awaken him, and then he goes and fixes all the machines.
Henry, my name's the phones. Hey, yeah, we know. Just punch the thing.
He's stuck in like the back room of the arcade in Tron.
It's like he's not allowed to go inside Tron World. He sees Jeff Bridges going there all the time. Like, one day maybe I can go. Like, no. You stay the fuck here. They don't want you here. You got to punch things in case they break. Okay, that's all you'll ever be. Flynn out.
But yeah, so
the interview.
We were in Angels Camp to go see the interview at the wonderful theater in Angels.
The thing that's cool about it is, like, the movie's only playing, like, in 70 theaters across the country. And of all theaters, this tiny little theater in this little, like, middle of nowhere town is playing it. So.
I mean, it got on the news and all kinds of things, too. That was, like, a pretty big deal for Middle California.
Because, I mean, I'm sure everyone... I wouldn't only go over...
Or East California.
You don't need to go over it too much. I'm sure probably by this point, if you're listening to this on the internet, you probably have an idea of what happened with the interview. But to my surprise, I didn't know until, like, yesterday that it actually did get a very limited release. And for a while, I thought, okay, they're just going to stream it or whatever. Or this, I didn't think of this, but possibly this is like the Stanley Kubrick movie that's just kind of in a vault at Warner Brothers. They only show it.
Apparently you can go out and buy now.
You can put, oh, fuck.
Somebody told me that the other day. They're like, you know, they actually like released it not too long ago, maybe a year or so ago.
Oh shit!
I was
I
like,
gotta look that
whoa,
up.
what the fuck? I was like, I
gotta look that up.
I forgot what it's called by this point, but I gotta go look that up.
But anyway, so I was wondering I don't know what was going to happen with it. I figured it'd probably be streaming or just go straight to DVD or something. But now it's like, okay, well, it did get a limited release. That's cool. And it just happened to be one of our theaters. So,
and I still think it's a ploy by Sony. I don't care what people say. I think that Sony kind of made that up because Sony's too smart to just kind of pull a movie for no reason. I think, look how much press that's got. Look how much press that's got for the interview.
I don't think it was entirely a ploy. I think it was to an extent. Like, I think because...
And they didn't pay for any of that advertisement.
Well, there's something that happened for it. Well, people were already talking about the movie and looking forward to the movie before that happened.
But not very much. I mean, there's people that were interested in it, but it was kind of going to be one of those movies that would have been sort of like This Is the End, where people might have saw it over time, but it didn't, like... have this humongous impact, you know, because comedies don't always have that.
Because there were older people in there that would never go see a Seth Rogen comedy that were there for this.
The theater we went to, there was more older people than anything else. I mean, there was probably more people 50 and up than there was 50 and below.
And the other thing about this movie was, well, here's what happened, because somebody hacked into Sony, and there's too many things that happened that were released that Sony would not want to know, so... I think clearly not all of it was planned, because North Korea hacked into Sony. They released a bunch of like incriminating emails about how like certain producers or whatever are a little racist, as well as unfinished movie scripts and concept art for other movies and this and that and future plans. So it wasn't all completely ployed, but I think they said, okay, we're going to pull it, and then at the last minute say, no, it's getting released.
Yeah.
I think they literally made a threat, and I think that, okay, well, we can't, they literally made a threat. There'd be a 9/11-esque attack if you go see this movie, or if this movie gets released.
Not yet.
And they said, okay, we're gonna pull it, and
we're gonna release it on Christmas then.
Yeah, that was always aimed for Christmas, but then they just at the last minute they just said we're gonna pull it, and I think they were lying about they're gonna pull it everywhere because I think some places just wouldn't show it when you make a threat like that. So then limited release.
So pretty much I noticed. I think most of the places that didn't show it were all like the capitalist kind of like
Regal,
AMC, all the big huge theaters that like are always the jerk offs anyways. Mm-hmm. So all the small theaters said, well, I'll take it in because, you know, fuck, why not?
We can use the money.
Yeah, literally. So Angels being one of the ones that showed it, and then we get the movie. And then I'll say it's like, you know, I think the hype is definitely much higher than the movie itself.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're not a Seth Rogen fan.
No, I'm not a Seth Rogen fan going into it. I mean, I always assume that maybe one day he will change his ways and, you know, actually start making some decent pictures, but... I don't think that day's ever going to come. But, you know, other people love him so much, so, you know, he's panning to a different audience. So it's not for me. I know it's not my type of comedy going into it.
I'll say this. He's one of those people, it's kind of like... I think we've several times we've kind of like the Seth Rogen kind of debate.
Yeah.
I like Seth Rogen. It's not like, oh, he's okay. Like, I actually like Seth Rogen. But he's not like my favorite comedic actor. And it's not like his movies, I gotta go see his movies. I already wanted to see The Interview. All this controversy, in all honesty, made me want to go see it a little bit more because I wasn't sure when I was going to be able to see it. Mm-hmm. But, because it had the limited release and all that. And I'll say, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a good movie. I really liked This Is the End. This Is the End, because that was one of those movies that was like, I went into it thinking it was going to be good, and I really liked This Is the End. Other movies of his have been good, not all of them, but other movies of his have been good. he's never really been like, oh, I gotta go see the Seth Rogen movie. Mm-hmm. He just happens to be involved with certain concepts I want to see in movies. This is one of them, and I enjoyed the movie. I liked it. I thought it was good. Like you said, it's not really entirely kind of aimed at like us per se.
Well, like yeah, it's like because the way that Seth Rogen's movies, and this is how they've always kind of like looked to me, is they sort of appeal to sort of a bro crowd. It reminds me of a bunch of guys that just went out to a burger joint, got a few beers in them, and they're going to the movies because it always kind of feels like he focuses just kind of on a lot of whatever's in the news kind of comedy. I know that's what a lot of things are, but just kind of small things like that. It always seems like there's a lot of sexual comedy he has in there. I'm not saying that other people don't have, but it just kind of seems a little generic, I guess. Nothing special about it. And that's how like all his other movies have kind of been prior to this that I've seen, and I haven't seen a ton of them. I've seen about 5 of them or so. Mm-hmm. But this movie, the concept's what sold it to me. Like I like the concept so much, so I was gonna hope that he was gonna really kind of be able to pull this thing together, and because it's a great concept. And then once somebody does this, if anybody else does it, whether they do it better or not, they're always going to be like, well, they're just ripping off the interview. So now since it's already out there. But sadly enough, I don't think it kind of went the full distance of what it could have been. Mm-hmm. This is what I think, and I'll just go straight to it. I think if Trey Parker and Matt Stone made this kind of movie, because the concept alone, it sounds like it could be one of theirs,
Yeah.
If they did it, like if this was, say, like their new live action picture that they haven't done since, basketball.
Yeah. Or Team America.
Yeah, but I guess that's like
that kind of counts.
It's live action in a
ish.
Yeah, because it's shot on camera, but it's not like
people.
Yeah, but it's not people in it. So let's just say since like basketball, pretty much, if this was just their next one live action, I think they could just knock this away. This would be just an amazing picture. They would nail it down. They'd get the comedy perfect, and everything would be great about it. And Seth Rogen, on the other hand, there's moments in the movie it's good. I will say the first half an hour watching it, the very first act, I was just sitting there like arms crossed. Like I did like a couple like barely laughed. Like it just wasn't funny really. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, I hope this picks up. And even James Franco is horrible. I was like, he's almost worse than Seth Rogen. He's less funny. He's so stupid that he's gone beyond like he's stupid, he's funny, to he's just full on stupid. I was just like, oh, I couldn't take it almost. Mm. I almost feel like I'm Cisco now speaking of this. Because this is almost like...
Cisco has a burning... Like, Cisco, that's like his arch nemesis, Seth Rogen. For
that's what it almost sounds like, because that's what he when he talks about Seth Rogen.
When like Cisco talks about Seth Rogen, he's like, fuck Seth Rogen. Like, he just has this burning hatred, as if, like, like Seth Rogen, like killed his father, or something like that. Like, I will fight Seth Rogen on top of a volcano with a fucking sword and cut his head off, He just has so much hatred for that motherfucker.
But I think it's one of those ones, like, in the very beginning, like, they just kind of try to get all these little jokes in there. And they're still doing that kind of thing that they've been doing for about 15 years, where they all try to, like, act like they're black, but they're, like, totally white characters. And I always think that's always, like, is that still funny this day and age?
I thought that was more of, like, the...
Well, yeah, it wasn't Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen didn't actually do it. He played the straighter character, I guess.
That's more of like, I think that's supposed to be, that's kind of transition, and that was more the James Franco character. It's like, that's transition in, I guess, the showbiz thing. Like, what's up, baby? Pulling out your cell phone. I think that's just the whole, like, white guys trying to, like, rich white guys trying to be black. I just think it's more of like a show business, like, rich yuppie thing kind of deal.
Yeah, and maybe it is. It's just, they've done that comedy for so long that now, like, that's almost what you assume, like, a white, rich guy is going to say. But to me, it just always feels like, is this fucking like 1998 again? Like, is this really still what we're going after? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But whatever. Okay. But once they got to North Korea, this sounds so fucking weird. It's like once they get to Kim Jong-un, that's when the movie starts to get better, in my opinion. Like when it's James Franco and Un hanging out together, it's really good. Now this sounds fucking weird. This sounds like almost like you're watching a Hitler movie. You're like, I fucking hated that movie, but all the stuff of Hitler in it was great. If they just put more of Hitler in it, it'd be perfect. That Indiana Jones 3? I don't know, but that scene of Hitler, that was a showstopper there. But I don't know what it was like when James Franco and Kim Jong-un were together. I'm saying it like whatever that guy's actor's name is. I'm just gonna believe that that's what it is.
Looked all like him.
I know, he did a really good job. That guy is the guy who did a great job. Mm-hmm. Then the comedy started to work. It was whenever James Franco and Seth Rogen were together, that's where I thought the comedy fell flat. And I mean, obviously, I know most people out there are going to be like, oh, if I like Seth Rogen comedy, then that's what I want, is I love my James Franco and Seth Rogen. They're like, I like the Pineapple Express, and what other movies do they do together?
Pineapple Express,
This is the End. Because they're kind of like...
they're kind of like, there's that, And the main thing, that whole like Seth Rogen, James Franco like duo thing, that comes from I never really seen it. I've seen like random episodes, but they were together in that Freaks and Geeks show. And they're friends.
Is that what they come from?
They're both like Judd Apatow produced Freaks and Geeks. I think he was the showrunner. I don't know if he wrote it, but he was definitely the showrunner. And James Franco and Seth Rogen are like best friends in that. So that's kind of like. That's for this duo. So that's when Pineapple Express came out. Like, these guys are back together again, and since then...
Okay, well, that starts to make more sense there, because I remember Pineapple Express being that's where people kind of go. It was like the go-to movie for those two. And Pineapple Express is one of the few Seth Rogen movies I remember being like, that was actually a little bit more decent. It still has a lot... It almost has like all like the textbook like Seth Rogen problems, but I remember it did also have funny moments into it.
You like Superbad too, right?
It's Superbad. I enjoyed that one. I don't think it's amazing, but I think what makes that one different, though, is because Seth Rogen's not the main character, and it's like, I like Jonah Hill a lot, so that's kind of the difference. Mm-hmm. But when back to the interview, when they get to Kim Jong-un, I think that's when like a lot of the stuff, like the movie makes a change, and I think it's also, the scenery gets kind of cool. It's not just generic, TV studio scenery. Now you get to see, even though it's probably not like shot anywhere near North Korea, but you get to see this kind of cool mountainscapes. They got like his castle thing set up.
The cinematography is great.
Yeah, that part looks really good. There's a lot of neat things going on there. And Kim Jong-un's like, I'll take you out like in a tank and whatnot. We'll have a grand old time. We'll play basketball. And he really comes across at this point being like, oh, this was a real good guy. Why does nobody like him? And that's where James Franco's even kind of going like, I fucking love this guy. Why do we want to kill him? Yeah. He's great. Mm-hmm. So when it gets to that point, that's when I started really digging it. And then it'll cut back to Seth Rogen's part, and they're mostly still just... I think
him and that Asian...
And it's just so... He does the same thing that he did in Pineapple Express, where he writes himself in like, oh, I'm this big fat guy, but I get a really hot chick. And that's like Pineapple Express. I remember
But he's not the first one to do that.
It took me so out of the picture.
That's usually like in every movie. Usually the fat
not
guy...
really in every movie. Very few movies. But back in the day, those characters, like...
Well, if there is a fat guy and he's the main character, he is going to walk away with a hot girlfriend, usually. That usually changes. Or an ugly...
I guess because a lot of those... I guess I don't... Because those are the kind of movies I don't generally like. Because, I don't know, it's just that... The way that his come across, though, it's just... It's not like a believable kind of thing. It's just written like... She just instantly falls like, oh, I loved you the whole time I saw you. Yeah. And it's kind of like in Pineapple Express, he had like this 17-year-old, like, girlfriend. It's just like, how does this big, fat, slobby guy, he probably smells bad. We don't got smell-o-vision yet, but I'm assuming that's what it is. And he's got this like the hottest chick in school. It's just like, who the fuck wrote this? Oh, Seth Rogen. It makes fucking sense. Well, this movie too is like
he directed it, but he didn't write it.
He wrote it.
Yeah, it didn't say it was said written by. It said written by someone else. It said directed by.
No, it said in there. There was somebody who wrote the manuscript, but it was like story by.
Really?
It was him. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was the number one on that list.
Oh, okay.
So once again, I remember when I saw that, I was just like, oh, there he goes again, fucking like, and like. If it was a drama movie about, like, building up to, like, they built this great relationship over time or whatnot, but he literally just writes it in, like, we have 3 scenes together, by the 3rd scene, you're fucking me. Like, it's that kind of thing. It's like, okay. It's just like, so the hottest chick in North Korea now is going after you, just like the hottest chick in high school is going after you in Pineapple Express.
I'll say this in
Pineapple Express. Takes me out of the movie, you know what I mean?
Of all things to take out of movies,
yeah. I can watch a lot of movies. Like, I was watching that Noah movie, and those Golem things never took me out of the movie. But in this movie, in the interview one, when Seth Rogen just kind of like, at first I thought, I was like, well, maybe he'll just play his character. Oh, nope. He found a way to make his character seem unbelievable.
Is that the one thing that kind of like made you really dislike his character overall, or?
I'll say
because he was kind of the straight.
He never really said anything he said a couple like minor funny jokes throughout the way, but he was being tame, I guess. He wasn't being kind of like he wasn't like movie hogging his way in like he normally does in a lot of stuff. Sort of like in Fanboys, where he movie hogs his way into 3 roles, where he tries to really eat the scenery. But
I'm guessing that's they asked him that. Maybe he. I don't. He did just like swing in there with both elbows, like I'm on this fucking movie. I'm gonna play these 3 different characters, but. I really believe
he literally came in there and said, I like this movie so much, it's Star Wars, you gotta have me 3 times in the movie and then it'll sell good because it's me.
He
said that, there was an interview that he was talking about, like, how he was talking about how he was so cool and, like, how everybody wished they were kind of like him. Was it really? In, like, Glamour magazine?
Did he literally say that?
I wasn't reading
I wasn't me, just Cliff.
I wasn't me, but yeah.
Was he?
Laura was reading it, and like he was talking about just how cool he was and like how perfect he was, and this is why people are gonna like donate towards the organization. I was just like, dude, fucking movie hog Seth Rogen and him again. Yeah,
he said he was saying. I didn't know. I may have to read that. No, when I heard him like I heard like him on several podcasts. He sounded pretty like level head. Like, I know I'm not the greatest actor. This is what I'm good at doing. So that's why I make these kind of movies, and that's why I usually play these kind of roles. And he said like there's that movie Take This Waltz where it's a drama, and he said it's basically he plays a guy whose wife leaves him basically for some new guy.
That sounds almost more like a role that, like, I've never seen that movie, but that sounds like something I could probably
He was
watch.
abandoned and no one loves him. I could see him in this role.
That sounds right. That sounds where he needs to be.
But it was one of those things like, and he said like, I had a good time doing that movie, but at the same time, he said like, I'm glad someone asked me and I was really flattered, but at the same time, I could not imagine doing those kind of movies all the time because A, I don't think I have that level of range. B, I just
fun.
He says like he just enjoys having like dumb comedies with his friends. He says that's what he likes doing more, and I can kind of see that. But I mean, so I hope that maybe that was missing because he sounded like a pretty level-headed, smart guy in all these interviews I heard on I heard him on Mark Maron, I heard him on Nerdist with Evan Goldberg. It was when they were like the end. This is the end was coming out. So I hope like. I really hope that was misquoted or something because I know he donated a lot of like stuff to Alzheimer's or whatever.
Yeah, that's what it was for because his mom had Alzheimer's. I mean, it sounded like a nice thing, but then it was like towards the end of the interview, he's just like, "Well, yeah, people are going to do it because they think I'm super cool." And
maybe he's saying it sarcastically. Or something.
I mean, he could have been saying it sarcastically since it was in print, you know. But it still comes. It's like that's probably not the time and place to say that, you know. But I don't know. It's just he's one of those ones and I've given him many chances throughout the years too because I haven't liked him for a long time. You know, it was like, I think the first movie I ever saw him in was the Superbad one, if I had to guess. Mm-hmm. And then from there on out, I saw, you know, every once in a while a movie here and there, and he just kind of, like, built up on me. And I remember Fanboys, I think, was the tipping edge for me. It was when I saw Fanboys, and then, like, and I realized he was 3 characters in there. I was like, okay, 1 character, okay, I'll handle him as the Star Trek nerd guy. That's fine. And then he was in there as, like, the Star Wars super, like, biker fan guy. I'm like, oh, are you fucking serious? And then he had a 3rd character, which I can't remember what it is right at the moment, but... I was just like, really? He's in there that movie? You got fucking Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes, and they only have like one little part, and he got fucking Seth Rogen movie hogging his way through the whole movie. And it's like, to top it off, it was a movie that wasn't supposed to have him in the first place. It was this little teeny independent movie, and then I think what happened, because we saw that trailer 3 years before that movie even came out.
He was actually in the trailer as a Star Trek nerd, though.
Was he?
Yeah, the whole Han Solo is a bitch part.
Okay, maybe he wasn't there then.
At least that character.
When that movie came out, though, Seth Rogen wasn't... I don't think Knocked Out came out before that. Now, by the time it came out on DVD, it did. But I don't think when the time that first trailer came out, I don't think Knocked Out had come out. Or
Knocked Up.
Yeah, Knocked Out. Knocked Out.
He just punches out the girl?
It probably would have been a better movie anyways, but yeah, Knocked Out.
She's pregnant? Oh, fuck! Bam!
You
gotta hide the body.
I might have went and saw that movie.
That got fucking dark.
But, okay, Knocked Out, because that... I want to say, what year did that movie come out? 2004?
That came out...
Not Fanboys, but Knocked Out.
Knocked Up. That came out in 2007. I know, because that's the same summer Spider-Man 3 came out. People are making a big deal about that, and that movie actually makes jokes about Spider-Man 3 coming out right around the same time.
Okay, well, I'm way off on that. So, okay, well, Fanboys came out way before that then. Because Fanboys came out... Or that trailer
they started making it. Well, no,
2004 or 5.
No, because Fanboys. I remember I saw the first trailer for it on Clerks 2 DVD.
Clerks. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah, it was 20 years in the making. No, it was on the Clerks 2 DVD, and that actually had a trailer for it. And that Clerks 2 came out in 2007. 2006. You're right. Yeah.
And I almost wanted, because I remember seeing one in theaters. That was like the one thing that blew me away, and I don't remember, God knows what movie it was.
Well, he started getting a lot more work after Knocked Up, actually 40-Year-Old Virgin, because he was one of the supporting characters in that.
I know Knocked Up was kind of like his first big movie.
That was a starring role.
Yeah, his first starring role, and that's where people started. That's where kind of like the Seth Rogen fan club started up at.
But people really started taking more notice because he was already in Freaks and Geeks. People liked him in that, but
that show was kind of like
that was a critical acclaim show.
Yeah, and that was kind of a hidden show because to this day and age, I've never met anybody that's ever watched that before.
I know people that watch it. I've never seen it. I'm sure I'd like it if I saw it.
I've always heard about it, but I never watched it.
Yeah.
If I probably would have known Seth Rogen, I probably would have stayed away. But at
that time, you know who he was.
I didn't know who he was at that time. So
he plays in Donnie Darko. He plays like the evil Mexican dudes, like his right hand man.
Oh yeah, that's right. He is in that. That one's almost like sort of a different role. That's another movie itself.
He's just a bully.
That's one of the many movies where people talk so highly about it. I remember watching it and going, it was okay.
I mean, I liked it, but I'm not really. I was kind of a little underwhelmed when I saw Donnie Darko. I mean, I like it. I own it, but it was like
I own it too because I bought it to watch it, but. Was it? Yeah, I'll tell you this. If I just watched it, I probably wouldn't have went out and bought it. But I'm not saying it was a bad movie, but it was one of those movies where it's like, people talk about like it's a 4 out of 4 movie, and I'm always saying mostly if I don't like a movie, that doesn't mean it's a bad movie necessarily. It just means it wasn't made for me. And I can kind of see that with that movie, but I was like, the rap part's kind of cool, but the rest of it's just kind of. I guess maybe just nothing jumped out at me in that film.
You can tell, it's kind of like for a lot of emo kids, like this movie gets me. This movie gets me. I understand.
I think that's Donnie.
Like, thank you, Donnie.
Maybe if Donnie had some muscles and a gun, it might get me a little bit more. If it was sort of like maybe in the Die Hard category.
Stallone, as Donnie Darko, like, people don't get me at school.
That was one line I thought was actually really funny in it, though, where Kim Jong-un in the interview, he's like, oh, well, this tank was given to my grandfather from Stalin as a present. And then James Brown just looks at me and goes, in my country, it's pronounced Stallone.
Well, it was also, what kind of gets me is, here's the thing about Seth Rogen comedies. And it's not just Seth Rogen, but, I guess these Judd Apatow-like comedies. It's more of just not here's the big zinger. It's here's the small little one-liners they just throw away. And they keep on throwing them out there. Majority of them, I think, are funny. I guess you don't think majority of them are funny.
A lot of them I don't. It's like, because I know a lot of the jokes that I laughed at, the theater didn't laugh at.
So it's
like, okay, the theater laughs at 4 of these jokes, and then when the 5th one comes up, I'm laughing, and then I notice there's very few people laughing, if none at all.
I'm kind of laughing at the same jokes with you. I guess, I'm kind of in the middle. I don't really, there's all, the blowjob jokes and all that kind of stuff, which can be funny, but I guess there's so many of those that, it's not that it's not funny, it's just, it's kind of easier humor. I'm not gonna lie, that is some little easier.
Yeah, it's kind of like, don't get me wrong.
What gets me, it's more of just kind of it's almost like a sort of the primal, just kind of response people have in his movies, kind of when, it's something as simple as someone falling down, fuck, the way they say it when they hit the ground or whatever, just something as primal and cheesy and stupid as that. Or, for instance, there's the part when, those quick responses, those really quick responses, they didn't see it coming. There's when Rob Lowe takes off his wig, and that one guy's like, oh, Jesus, fuck! No one really says that in that, tone.
Yeah.
And the one girl, it's in the tree.
See, the part that I thought was funny there, this is the part, once again, nobody laughed at, is when they are like, oh, we have to cut to a breaking news, and then Rob Lowe's talking, and then it's just, he's really getting into the speech, and nobody's fucking laughing. That to me I thought was funny.
I thought it was funny, too. And then, the girl's like, looks like someone's taint or whatever. That's
See, I feel like that, it sounds weird, but I just feel like he throws those in there just to try to go over the top. Because comedy's about a balance of, if you want to throw as many obscene gestures in there, you'll get a handful of people laughing, but I don't think it makes the grandest comedy. It's how you work it in there. That's where I think somebody like a Kevin Smith can throw a obscene gesture in there, and it totally works because the timing was so perfect, and the way that it's worded in there, it's not like it's coming at you 100 words at a time.
Yeah, and when I say I know that it's nothing too. He does have some pretty good one-liners. I just think it's kind of like what you said. He just keeps throwing them out there, and I think there's enough that stick. I guess for you, there's not enough that stick, but for me, there's enough that stick that I find funny. I think the concept alone of the movie was funny, and it also
the concept I think is great.
Yeah, and the visually, it's just a good looking movie on top of it too. Because when they get to North Korea, there's a lot of cool shots and a lot of cool scenery and whatnot. And something I do like about these more recent Seth Rogen movies is they are trying to actually, rather than just be another just kind of a couple stoners sitting around, they are trying to actually make them violent. And give him a little bit of action. This Is the End was great about that. This movie had some of that in there.
The end, the action was really good. All the stuff in it. Wasn't a ton of it, but the
Pineapple Express was one of the first ones to do that.
Yeah, they had that too.
So, and that what I was going to say regarding that though, regarding the humor, one of the funniest parts, some of the small throwaway lines. You and me both laughed on this. It's when the tigers come for Seth Rogen. He says, it's like a big red dog, like Clifford.
Yeah, see, that one is a great line. And as I said, this is how I always feel about, this is almost like the Family Guy style of the modern Family Guy show. If you throw enough jokes out there, you're always going to hit something funny. That's why you can watch sometimes the stupidest movies, and then every once in a while you'll laugh really hard at one point, just because if you throw enough jokes out there, you're bound to have one that works really well.
Yeah.
And I do feel this movie kind of goes in about that Family Guy style where they throw a lot of jokes out there, just almost whatever comes to them, they don't put too much thought and just write it down. Just write it down. And so, no matter what, let's just say for every 5 jokes, one of them's funny. Mm-hmm. And for me, maybe, and it's for other people, maybe 4 out of 5 of them are funny, and for some, 5 out of 5, and so on. But yeah, that's how I kind of felt. But then when there was the funny ones, the Clifford one, I thought that was great.
Well, there's other jokes well, I'll say this. there was kind of self-aware in some aspects. Like when the second they pulled that puppy out, I was so nervous that dog was gonna die. I mean, I know it's a comedy, but lately movies have been getting ballsy and saying, let's really shock and sting the audience by killing this cute dog or something to that effect. So I really was scared for the dog. So I liked how in the middle of the action, every 5 seconds, like, is the dog okay? Okay, cool. You know, like, just keep on going.
Keep going.
Seth Rogen literally gets shot. He's like, oh, fuck.
He's
you
like,
know,
is the dog fine?
Yeah, the dog's fine. Like, the girl's like, yeah, the dog's fine. Okay, good, we're fine. We'll keep going. You know?
Yeah.
Like, that kind of, like, you know, a little bit of that kind of meta humor can work sometimes. And then, like, there's the other part, like there's a gag like there because when they actually have the interview, because at some point like James Franco is basically taken with Kim Jong-un. He's like, he's not so bad. You know, he's succumbing to his charm basically and being bribed by him. He doesn't realize it. And then Seth Rogen is like, and the girl. There's this media propaganda lady, and she realizes what she's doing is wrong, so she joins with Seth Rogen. They end up fucking at some point. And then when they're shooting the interview, they're trying to keep the thing running and shoot it the way it needs to be shot while everybody else in there is trying to stop it. So there's this fight scene that's going on inside the recording booth in the editing room while that's going on. And during that, like Seth Rogen, it's kind of like Seth Rogen gets his finger bit off, so he bites the other guy's finger off, and the guy bites his finger off again, you know?
Yeah, it's just like, I was like, oh, that's kind of different.
Yeah, so it's like I can appreciate like how like this like usually we're used to comedies. I mean, not saying it makes it that much more intelligent, but
Something different.
It's something different because usually comedies are, you know, you're seeing a comedy. That's what you're seeing. You don't really see comedies suddenly take a harsh turn. Like at one part, a guy's brains get blown out, and the audience actually got shocked on that part.
Yeah, they got thrown off. I was like, oh.
I actually heard like a like a bunch of that, you know. Or it's even kind of the small things, like as far as like small jokes, kind of like because they at some point they have to like they have this poison that you basically kill them just by touching
The ricin.
the ricin, yeah. And James Franco, he's such a dumbass. He says, "Oh, I didn't use that secret bag the CIA gave me. I just stuck in this gum. They're not going to check the gum." And this one North Korean guard takes it and puts it in his mouth. He says, "Oh, that's great. You fucking ate it." You know, like it's just like those kind of reactions. Like there is no real punchline, but just the delivery and the timing.
Just that worked out well.
That's kind of what I like about Seth Rogen comedies, and they usually have a lot of those in there. I do agree with you what you say. I think sometimes they throw too much, but I think just enough of them stick. The two Seth Rogen comedies that I really do like a lot is This Is the End and Superbad. Mm-hmm. Those are the two I do really like a lot. Everything else is either, oh, it's good, or, you know what I mean? You said today, like, because I still like Zack and Miri Make a Porno. I still like that movie. But you said this today. It never crossed my mind. I don't know why, but Kevin Smith should have just played Zack.
Yeah, I think that, because you look at that, like, Zack
It's
and Miri,
clearly
it reminds me of like a
Kevin Smith.
Woody Allen film of like, if Kevin Smith did one. It sounds weird to say it like that.
Well, he basically does Woody Allen, really.
He basically does the Woody Allen style, but like that one really kind of reminded me of it because Zack that character felt like that was written to be Kevin Smith more than any, like in other movies I don't feel like necessarily as much. What about it?
A battery all right?
Oh yeah, we got full charge.
All right, cool.
I replaced him. I thought that'd be pretty good.
Sorry to pull the curtain back for a second, folks, on the magic of podcasting. But yeah, we don't have a cord of the thing as usual. Anyway, yeah.
But yeah, but that movie felt like that character was totally like Kevin Smith almost. Like that was kind of like written to almost be played by him. And then he just got Seth Rogen in there because he just met him and he's like, oh, you know, I'll use him. He seems like he's pretty funny. The kids seem to like him. And he'll be a good sell because as Kevin Smith says, that was kind of his sellout movie. You know,
he even
to me it doesn't feel totally like that because it's got a bunch of kind of like modern comedian guys in it. I guess you could say.
I had a lot of
but then it also has
people.
Yeah, because it has a lot of those kind of guys in it who, you know, not once again, it's not my type of comedy. You know, but then it still has just as many like Kevin Smith guys in it too. It's got, you know, Jason Mewes and it's got Jeff Anderson.
His wife has a cameo.
His wife has a cameo and so on. But that's like when I look at that movie, I'm like that should have just been. And I know Kevin Smith's always iffy about acting in movies, but I always think he's fantastic whenever he's in it. Mm-hmm. He's like Quentin Tarantino. It's like you could literally have Quentin Tarantino play a main character and I'd watch it. And I've seen a movie where Quentin Tarantino plays one of the main characters and it's fucking weird, but I'll tell you, all his parts are great.
Mm-hmm. I think that I would have been curious to see like Quentin Tarantino play Guy Lapointe in Tusk.
Oh,
that's who he was going for originally. Before it sounds kind of weird. I couldn't get Quentin Tarantino, so I got Johnny Depp.
Yeah, because that seems like much easier.
But it was actually kind of cool the way how he got him. Because he said, like, he didn't really advertise. That was kind of cool. But he said, I didn't advertise it, but me and Johnny Depp were kind of loosely equated and pretty cool with each other.
Well, I think because his kids were friends.
Their kids were friends, so at like birthday parties or barbecues, they'd always see each other, and they'd actually always have a good conversation and shoot the shit. And he says they were pretty cool with each other, and that was kind of cool how he just didn't like flaunt that around, like I'm best friends with Johnny Depp, all that kind of stuff. And then he just comes like, hey man, don't have to be weird. Do you want to be in my movie? Because I know you like Michael Parks, so
yeah. So sometimes those things just work out. Mm-hmm. Let's go back to the interview. This was one line that was like a small throwaway one, but I thought it was really funny. Was like when the Korean guys are like, okay, lunch will be served in 30 minutes, and then he's walking Seth Rogen out. He's like, come on, American, time for you to get fatter.
Like those kind of lines. You basically like any line that was kind of like demeaning towards Seth Rogen.
That pulls him down. Like, yeah, you tell him, fucking North Korean man.
What if that line wasn't written by Seth Rogen? What if I just improvised by like?
That'd make me love it even more, probably. Mm-hmm. But I will say, I don't think the movie was horrible, and I think that there's a lot of people out there that would really enjoy it. Like, I don't think it, to me, it's not my type of comedy, but I'm very picky on comedies because I find that the funniest things in movies don't even come from comedy movies in the first place. They come from dramas. Because there's so much, because in dramas, you're not trying to write a funny line every, like, third line, so that when you do have something funny, it's like, it's just perfectly in there, and it can be extremely hilarious. And then it can go back to being serious again, and then when it comes back, it can be hilarious once more. Mm-hmm. So, like, for me, this movie just kind of has a lot of, I just feel kind of bro hipster kind of humor just for guys that hanging out at the bar, drinking beers, and then they go to watch a movie. It reminds me of one of those kind of movies where somebody would literally go to Applebee's and then go to the theater next door. Now, I know that kind of dictates like Sonora because there's literally an Applebee's right next to the movie theater, but that's what it reminds me of. So if you had a few beers in you, you'd probably find the movie really hilarious.
So if you're very intoxicated and not of a sound mind, you just might enjoy the interview. I did enjoy it.
It does have some good stuff in it. I feel like if a movie with this same story and this concept, but if you just had that wit thrown into it and just kind of had, that almost makes it sound like as if it had like British humor, but if it just kind of had some like sophistication to it, I think it could be top notch. And just, I think that it's a little bit downgrade to kind of be just, generic, regular kind of humor. Nothing special. Nothing makes you think.
They did a little bit of thing, not through.
I'm not saying that like there wasn't stuff in it, but for the most part.
What I did like is the movie said like, look, you American, like the girl says at some point, makes a good point right here. You Americans think you can fix it just by killing him. You don't realize there's a bunch of people lined up right after him. Yeah. You got to defeat him personally. And through this interview, I mean, I know that's a movie, but through this interview, that's where people see that, there's nothing really special about this guy.
Well, that part I really liked a lot.
And how, like, when they're trying to get out of there, like, others, like, some South Korean soldier, like, North Korean soldiers actually turn and try to help them escape.
Well, the thing I like about it, too, is that they learned that, like, the CIA can't figure this out, but the characters learned that, like, no, the only way that we're going to stop him is by making it a true interview. Just really, like, go for what it is, Mm-hmm. So, James Franco asks all these, like, staged questions, and all of a sudden he just goes, so why is 2/3 of your country not being fed? Just pops that out there at the last second. When they've literally just had this total bonding moment where they become almost like best friends, where they're giving each other hugs and saying, like, oh, I love you, man.
Yeah.
Here, have a dog.
Yeah.
Remember that dog you lost? I got one that looks just like it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So then once he finally has it, then he starts pressing these questions, and then, gets to the whole point, just like, oh yeah, well your father told you that, having a margarita was gay and everything.
Then he makes him cry, yeah.
And he starts crying and everything, and then it kind of breaks the mold of his, like, kind of God stature to the country.
And I love that part where he just starts, because I know the whole Katy Perry thing was a little overused, but I love this part, because at some point they get into the tank, and Katy Perry's playing, like,
he's like, that's not why my wife was in here.
Yeah. And then, like, he starts, like, looking at him, he just looks at him real quick, he's just like, you're a firework. He starts crying. He's all like, fuck you, Dave. Fuck you, you cocksucker. Like, right in the middle of the interview. It's like, then later they're playing the song, like, 2 or 3 times later. And by that point, it's a little overkill.
I mean, there's one of those jokes that worked about once, maybe twice, but by about the 3rd and 4th time, it was like, okay, I got it.
It was kind of funny when they're driving the tank. He's like, hey, keep it on. It helps you focus, like that.
Yeah, it was a little while, but it's almost still, once again, it's like, okay, using that same joke once again.
When they play like a slower version, you see, like, when they actually show Kim Jong-un die, they're in a tank. The tank that you showed him earlier fires a missile, and, like, Zack Snyder slow-mo, hits the tank, and this is a really cool scene. The way just how it looks. I know it's all CG, but it looks really cool. And just kind of like you see the shell explode, the thing rips apart, and it shows Kim Jong Un's face. And it kind of starts to burn, then fire overtakes, and you see some blood splatter.
It's all in super slow motion.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that, though. That was actually toned down. Originally, it was so much more violent. Apparently, it like stripped away like layer from layer to layer, and eyes
Maybe
exploding.
on the DVD one they'll have that in there. Maybe.
Yeah, and then like because they just wanted to like really sink it in, but this one they apparently like. The blast of flame came across his face before, like, you can see the rest of, yeah.
Yeah. There's one other, like, this was another kind of, like, I almost feel like a sophisticated joke that was thrown in there that I don't think most people in the theater even got. But I like when the interview part was happening in there, and it was televised, and it showed people watching all over the place, in the U.S., in Korea, and so on. There was one of the guards, and he's watching on a computer, and it had the Windows 95 screen, and he's watching it. Now, what makes that funny is when they went to launch those missiles, they were using Windows 95, apparently, to launch them. Like,
They're that behind.
So that right there, I thought was pretty funny and clever.
I didn't even notice that. I mean,
as I said, I think
outdated,
that went over everybody's head, but like you kind of have to know that part to find it really funny.
Seth Rogen said in an interview, because like some of that stuff, I mean, I don't really, I can see it being true, but he said like, it's actually kind of weird how little we had to make up for this movie. You do some research, it's surprising how much of this movie
Writes itself, yeah.
And when it surprised me, because there's a part where they go by like a grocery store that looks fine, there's a fat kid out front waving, and you're like, okay, whatever. So see, it's not so bad. People make it out to me there's no food. There's a fat kid there. How else will we get there? Then later he goes by that grocery store, and all the food in there's plaster, and there's like a fake wall that's like just a photograph.
Illusion, yeah.
Yeah. And it wouldn't surprise me the least bit if that was true. Maybe maybe it's bullshit. I have not done research in that.
Well, apparently that 2/3 of people starving was all true, So
I believe that.
And, the whole point of that was the show that like he was pretty much lying to him. He was saying that North Korea was fantastic and there was no problems whatsoever. But
clearly there were.
That was just his way of conning.
I knew the movie was going to come back around to that somehow. And then on top of it, I think it opens up really funny. It shows this adorable little Korean girl singing like this song in Korea, basically saying, oh, how great Korea is. And then just basically goes, and she's, eventually leads into in her language, just like, die American, we hope your woman get raped by beasts from the jungle. This long song, is like they launch like a test nuke or something like that into the sky.
Yeah.
I thought that was a funny way to open a movie right there.
Yeah, that was a pretty funny one too. I mean, it was probably like a little much, like, they really were just trying to like drive in as many things as they could right there, but almost might have worked better if they like built it up a little bit more, but
Yeah.
It is what it is, and in my opinion, I'd probably say it's like a 2 out of 4.
And I'm just a simpleton. I'm just a simpleton. I can't help it.
It's like I think it's like the thing is the concept's so high. It almost reminds me like sort of like maybe not in the same thing, but it reminds me like a Warriors movie where like the concept's so good, but the movie itself just doesn't pull it off as well as it could have.
After this, do you think you'll still probably see the Sega versus Nintendo movie?
I still want to see that, but hopefully it's not. I think it's a documentary though.
Oh, okay.
So, as long as Seth Rogen doesn't put himself in there like, yes, look at me, I'm an expert, look at me, plaster my face everywhere. Look at that, on the interview, my head's covering James Franco's, I'm not even the fucking main character of it, but put me up there first and foremost.
I thought they both kind of shared the same screen time, really, because he was the one that was actually kind of like flustered, they weren't doing more shit with like...
I guess, it just felt like James Franco was like, he had maybe more lines and had more screen time still, but he seemed like the main character of the movie. Seemed like Seth Rogen's there to back him up. But, no, I know, I was so bummed. When I heard that when he was doing the Sega versus Nintendo thing, I was like, Seth Rogen's going in there and movie hogging his way into documentaries now?
Well, who knows? I mean...
That one, as I said, if he's just kind of like producing a documentary and he's not going to like try to put himself up there.
Or if he just
look at me, I'm an
expert. Or if he just wrote it even. Is it a documentary or a drama?
I think it's supposed to just be a documentary. I don't think it's a biopic.
I wasn't sure if it was like... I could imagine it, not saying it is going to be this, but for a second when I first heard that, I imagined it being kind of like...
A biopic?
A biopic / comedy, like someone from Sega, it could be like Seth Rogen and James Franco, like someone from the American advertising department from Sega, someone from the American advertising department of Nintendo, kind of going at it somehow. You know what I mean?
I hope that's not what it is. That would probably ruin it for me if they try to turn
doing
into like
pranks on each other's buildings or whatever.
Yeah, like that would just kind of like deteriorate that film. And be like,
I was hoping that's not what it is. But
Yeah, I really hope that's not what it is, because it's like most ones like I definitely don't like Seth Rogen and James Franco. I'm not a big fan of. It's not like he ruins a movie for me, but I'm not like he definitely doesn't sell a movie at the same time.
Well, I'm not saying he'd be the best part of the movie for you, but at some point, check out This Is the End. I mean, you may not like Seth Rogen still, but there's enough other people in that movie I think you would like. Mm-hmm. And Seth Rogen doesn't even make himself the main character. He makes Jay Baruchel the main character, and everybody else. And like, he even kind of makes himself kind of like, he doesn't even write himself as the likable guy. He writes himself as, like, I am kind of a fuck up. I am a little overrated, you know? So, I mean, I think he's kind of self-effacing about a lot of things, and so that's why I assumed that thing, oh, I'm so cool. I'm hoping that was just him being sarcastic, or that just something being taken out of context. Because every interview I read with him, or any like thing interview I hear about with him, he always just seems like a very fairly not the smartest guy in the room, but just fairly intelligent about like what he's doing and who he is. Mm-hmm. So
I mean, you can't go wrong. I mean, he's got the success going for him, so you always got to give him that. Mm-hmm. You know, but just for me, because comedy's kind of a personal thing. I think that's kind of how comedy works. You know.
Yeah.
If just because you like, some people always think it's just because you like comedy doesn't mean you like all of it. You know, you're very selective on like what you like. And strange, I always find that comedy's it's sort of like a picky thing to find like what's really funny and what makes a good joke and so on. And that's where I've always come to the conclusion that the best comedies out there are dramas. Which always sounds like the weirdest thing when you tell somebody that, but I'm like, no, dude, like, look at fucking Goodfellas, look at Wolf of Wall Street. No, that's kind of like more of like a...
I think Wolf of Wall Street is more of a comedy.
More of a comedy than is that.
That's one of the funniest comedies I've seen in a long time.
Look at Gran Torino, that's not even labeled as a comedy.
Gran Torino, I think you could label that a comedy until you get to the last 10 minutes,
some people
where it makes a hard right turn into Rapeville.
Well, yeah, but like that's where that movie goes back and forth, though, because some people don't laugh at all in that movie. I remember there was a girl once that watched that, and she's like, oh, I just watched Gran Torino last night. I'm like, wasn't that the funniest fucking movie you've ever seen in like years? And she just looks at me with this very serious look and says, what was funny about that movie?
Well, was she Asian?
No, she was like Mexican.
Okay, alright.
Okay, yeah, maybe if she was Asian that might have changed everything, but... What's so funny about a white guy who's just racist and running around shooting Asians and stuff like that? Well, must have saw it.
It was Clint Eastwood, so
it's okay,
right? Well,
so that's I've seen other people that are like that too, where they look at you like when you say that Gran Torino is one of the funniest movies you've seen in years, and they almost like look at you like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
It's funny up until the last 10 minutes. It seems like a dramatic, it's like a comedic drama.
Like a dramedy?
It seems kind of like a dramedy. Kind of like, it's not like, here's the punchline. It's more like, I guess, something around the lines of like...
Here's life.
Here's life. Yeah, something kind of like that. And there's enough comedy in there to call it a dramedy. I mean, I know it's not labeled as that, but it just feels that way. Just because Clint Eastwood's so angry. He's so pissed off all the time. Mm-hmm. And when it needs to be serious, it's serious. Kind of like, to an extent... I mean, this is one of the funniest movies of all time to me, but In Bruges.
That's another movie, too. It's like, it's like, I feel like it has enough comedy in it, but it's almost like first and foremost a drama. And I think that's what makes the comedy so strong, is it? Because it's not focusing on being funny every second of the movie, but when the jokes come in there, they're hilarious.
And it's not really punchlines. It's just the timing and just the weird... I know punchlines involve timing as well, but it's more of just kind of like, you guys are weird. You're all fucking weird. Would you like some cocaine? It's just like the weird, like...
They're filming midgets over there! Midgets!
He's like, come on, let's go back. Like, fuck off! They're filming midgets! Back to your buildings! And then there's like... Or it's just kind of like after they
says... Colin Farrell tells like the Americans that like they can't go up the stairs. Oh, you can't go up there.
You're not going up there.
Why not? Well, look at you. You're fat.
He's like, you're a bunch of fucking elephants. And then when the one guy starts chasing him around, like Colin Farrell's just like, the fuck are you doing? He's not like that threatening. He's
like barely, he's kind of like lightly jogging.
Or there's the part where, I could just go on all day about In Bruges. Like, there's the part where, like, it's within that same part I was mentioning, like, would you like some cocaine? They're like, yeah, sure. Then all of a sudden, like, I think Kenneth Gleeson kind of just rolls in the screen. He just got done doing a line. Like, his eyebrows are all arched all weird. Just has the most weirdest fucked up look on his face. They cut back later. He's, like, cutting lines. He's just looking at him. He's just like, have you ever thought about killing yourself because you're a midget? He's like, what the fuck kind of question is that? It's like these things, like, you're not sure if it's okay to laugh at.
Yeah, because, like, you don't know if it's actually supposed to be kind of serious or whatnot, but it ends up being funny. I think that's what makes drama... Because, in a comedy movie, it's just supposed to be like, here you laugh now, Where, like, in a drama, you could say something where, like, half the audience goes, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then like, maybe only, like, 25% are laughing. And the other 25% are like, I think we're supposed to laugh here. I'm not too sure though. I'm slightly confused. And I think that's to me is what makes a movie really funny. Where comedy one is just like, oh, dick joke here, let's laugh about this guy because he's funny looking. Oh, let's laugh at this guy because he's talking in a different language,
Well, I even thought like so much like the part like in the interview, even though this is like a total like dick joke, kind of like here is the punchline. The part when he like when he had to jam the tracker or whatever up his asshole for a second, and then later he comes in, he's just like. He's holding it. He's like, "Oh, you got fucked by RoboCop, dude!" Like that right there. I know that's one of those more like lower brow jokes, but still, that's just funny right there. Just because he's holding this big silver rod.
The one that I thought was really funny in that part was where he pulls it out. He's like, you got that wasn't so bad. And he's like, well, that wasn't fucking it. This was it. He's like, dude, I'm sorry, man.
Well, I thought it was kind of funny when the girl actually, when like the CIA agent, it's just like, you just got. It's like it's small throwaway lines like this, like once you get past the tip, it's not so bad. Trust me.
I also like when like they first go to the CIA thing. They're like, she was using you, man. Like she was like honeypotting you. He's like, no, man. Why would she not do that? She is blind as a bat. And then they're on the CIA thing. He's sitting there watching. He's like, what happened to your glasses? And she's like, oh, I got LASIK. Since we last meet. Yes. Since we last meet.
There's this black dude, like they brought her to honeypot us both, and this guy's here just on the off chance I'm possibly gay. He was honey dicking me, like I thought that was kind of funny right there.
I thought that was pretty funny. That was another joke though that they kind of wore out because they used it
honey dick a lot,
15, 20 times. I
think it's one of those things like repetitiveness.
I think the repetitive, like cause
people like repetitive jokes, but I think because they use the he honey. Like I think it's kind of funny when like. They mentioned like one other time with like the Koreans, like he honey dicked you, sir. Like I was honey dicking him,
Well, that would have worked fine. Like
they didn't say
if you would have called, if they didn't say it, not even 5, like 10 times prior to that. Mm-hmm. So like there is a problem in that movie too, where they do overuse jokes, where it's like okay, it's funny the first time, and then there might be another area where it's funny, but then they say it so many times, it's like okay, it's that Peter Griffin finding the chicken thing. It's like that worked maybe once and. Still,
the second time around, it was still kind of funny because we weren't expecting it. But then, like, this again. But then by like the
even the first time, I mean, like I thought it was just interesting just to go, oh man, they really went that far. Okay, that's ballsy, But it was something like I'm like, I hope I don't have to see that again though. And then lo and behold, that thing came around many more times. That apparently even happened. They had a crossover episode between The Simpsons and
they did with Homer.
Yeah, they did that. I'm like, but that would have been the perfect time to bring it back. I think. But since they played it out 3 or 4 times before that, that's kind of ruined the joke.
Yeah. I see what you're saying there.
But I don't know.
I need to see that crossover. I saw like clips of the crossover episode.
I know. Like one time, I think RJ told me about that. I was like, I gotta go watch it.
I need to see it just for that part.
Just to know.
Yeah.
Whether it might.
It's already so much in its own universe because everyone's yellow and Peter's everyone else normal skinned.
Yeah. But it's just, I feel like I should just see it. I don't assume it's going to be amazing or anything like that, but it just feels like something you have to see no matter what.
Yeah.
But yeah. Interview. I'm saying it, my opinion, I think it's a 2 out of 4.
I'm going to say
on the Leonard Maltin rating chart.
On the Leonard Maltin rating chart, not saying that it is I'm just going to say this, and don't hate me, I'm going to say it's a 3. And for me, a 3 is like, no, 3's good. It's flawed, but it's good. 2.5 is, it's above average. You don't need to rush to see it, but see it eventually. You know what I mean? But 2.5 is above average. 2 is like just average. So for me, I'd say it's above average. I think it's a 3. It's still flawed, but an enjoyable movie. I don't need to rush out and see it again. I don't need to. No, I mean, if I see it for like, this is going to sound like an insult, but if I see it for maybe like $5 or whatever, I might pick it up. But beyond that, though, I mean, it's if you let me put it this way: if you like Seth Rogen comedies,
oh yeah, you'll totally. If you're into Seth Rogen, I'm pretty sure you'll just really like it.
Yeah.
If you're like in that other group of people that don't care for Seth Rogen, you'll probably have all the same problems that I have, where you'll go like, man, that was a great concept. Just too bad that like some other directors didn't have that in their hands instead. As I said, I think that Trey Parker, Matt Stone, because that just seems like, and I mean maybe that's just going off because you look at like Team America, but I'm like they're the ones that would have put the sophistication in the comedy and then just totally nailed it because they can do one of their main talents is really just telling the truth, and that's all they have to do, and it's hilarious.
All right, ultimatum for you. Ultimatum.
Mm-hmm. If you had to choose between Trey Parker and Matt Stone, no.
If you had to kill one of them, and only one of them could you make it South Park.
Is that
no.
Okay, so that'd be fucking weird.
No. This movie happened. It was written and directed by Matt Stone and Trey Parker. But James Franco and Seth Rogen still star, but they're not writing or directing.
So it's the interview, written, directed by Trey Parker and Matt Stone, but it's still Seth Rogen and James Franco
Starring.
I'll say this, as long as they don't give them kind of like free range and like, so as long as they don't let them have...
Don't be yourself.
Yeah, don't give them any
No
liberty.
self-expression.
This is a North Korean movie, so you gotta follow this dictatorship. As long as they just kept it to a script, I think James Franco and Seth Rogen probably actually could do totally fine. And I think, script-wise, James Franco I know for a fact would do totally fine, because it's not like he's reading necessarily his lines that he wrote. But I think that might also fix Seth Rogen. If he had to play a part that was not where he can just improv and do his own thing, I think that might fix it there. I think that might change it a bit. But I would rather see fucking Trey Parker and Matt Stone play those two characters instead.
Yeah.
That would be just
when you said
pure
that,
amazing.
When you said that, I was right there with you. I still enjoyed the movie, but
yeah,
time will tell. Maybe.
I say 2 out of 4 for the fact. Because I think about half of it was good. That sounds about fair.
Okay.
I'm not saying...
I'm not going to try and twist your arm like, no, you're wrong. You have to like this.
I think the concept's really good, and I think there was stuff I started laughing, and as I said, it took about a half an hour, because there was that first half an hour where there's that part in your brain if I was here by myself, I might get up and leave. That's sort of it was that bad for me. It was just I'm not.
It's kind of like Reverse Wreck-It Ralph, where I
guess it was literally Reverse Wreck-It Ralph, where it started off. I even said this to you. I think I was it started off Act 3 in Wreck-It Ralph. It was that bad, but then by about once I got to North Korea, which is probably Act 2, and then it picked up, and I think it was once you split Seth Rogen and
James
Franco. That's when they're James Franco gets funnier when he's not with Seth Rogen. Sounds so weird because I know that's what people like him because they're together. I think James Franco, he works better when he's alone from him. That's when he can really do his thing. But as I said, I was glad. I more wanted to see it just to be able to talk about it. That sounds like a horrible thing. I literally went to...
You're how many views will this get me? Because ironically, it's the smaller movies we talk about rather than the big movies that get more downloads.
Yeah, so I was just perfect. This would be perfect for podcast material.
Yeah.
And going into it, too, I was hoping the movie would surprise me. I was really hoping it would be a turnaround. I always like to give people the benefit of the doubt. It's
maybe he will one day.
There's the actors, it's other than Seth Rogen, the other actor I just really can't stand. And I always say, everybody can have a couple actors or filmmakers that they can just not really like. And you almost can just say, you don't have to even really question it. It's just there's just some people that just will never get for you. It's Scarlett Johansson, because she reminds me of the Seth Rogen of females almost. But Captain America 2, that was the first time I watched it. I was okay, she wasn't anything amazing. She still was kind of, but she wasn't too obnoxious. She if that was the first movie I saw her in, she probably wouldn't have bothered me.
She's pretty good in Chef. She's actually pretty good.
She's in Chef too.
She's not in for so long, but she's in Chef.
See, she's just like Seth Rogen. She movie hogs her way into everything I want to go see.
Well, Jon Favreau put her in Iron Man 2, so
she's in Iron Man. Oh yeah, she's Black Widow. Yeah,
but it's one of those things. She's good, and she's been there for so long. I'll be honest, working in the restaurant industry for so long, I was I know that girl. Huh. I didn't even think it was Scarlett Johansson the whole time. I was I know that girl right there.
Okay.
So if there's a little...
I will say, I was getting excited about seeing that movie. That's going to slightly turn me down.
She plays a waitress in the movie. She has a thing going on with the Jon Favreau character for a little while. So, and it's a good movie. I'd recommend it. It goes by a different format. Lately, I've been seeing movies that have been kind of going by different formats. Like Boyhood by Linklater went by a different format. Chef went by a different format. So...
No, it was one I've been wanting to see for a while because it didn't come out to main theaters. Mm-hmm. So, and then when it finally came on DVD, then I just kind of I should see this at some point, and never did. But
I was kind of it was one of those things, even was talking so good about it, and Cisco twisted my arm into watching it, and I was just went there with arms crossed, this is a movie I'm supposed to like. And then I actually watched it, no, it was actually good.
Do you think it was better than Waiting?
Here's the thing.
Or is it just a kind of a different style?
It's a different style of movie.
That it's hard to compare?
Waiting is a dirty, raunchy comedy, and here's the thing. I could relate more to Waiting. I mean, I haven't been spitting or doing nasty shit to people's food, but I can
give the bat wings. Or
I can relate more to Waiting just because I worked in a restaurant for 11 years, and I think there's a lot there's a lot in that movie. I think if you ever worked at a restaurant, whether it be a chain or not a chain,
you get that movie.
You get that movie, and if people who've never worked in restaurants, they don't like that movie. Where everybody I know who has worked in a restaurant, and I know, even my folks like that movie. They don't like those kind of movies, but they like that movie because they own a restaurant. They know how it goes.
Yeah, my dad found that movie hilarious.
So like a Chef, that's more a movie. That's more of like a light drama, like a very light drama about a guy starting up a food truck who loses his shit during like some food criticism. And I'd say that Chef is probably altogether a better made movie. It looks better. It feels a little bit more artsier. But on top of that...
But you got to give Waiting credit for the fact that it's a writer-director's first movie who never made movies prior to that.
And I do give him credit for that.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's a better looking movie, a better made movie probably, but I don't know. I mean, as far as my own personal taste goes, maybe they're like roughly a draw, really. They're roughly a draw because I got to have respect for Chef for making a kind of movie that was no real single bad guy. And there wasn't like, we got to get there by this time, otherwise I lose everything. It was more of just kind of like...
Is it just a progressive movie? Like, it doesn't have ups and downs? Like,
it doesn't really have a whole lot of ups and downs, really.
I want to say Cisco told me he's like, the beginning part's just the only rough part of the movie, and then it's totally smooth from that point on.
He basically loses his shit to a food critic, and people catch him on camera, so he loses his job. And then he just kind of goes... with his kid and John Leguizamo, who totally steals the scene whenever he's in it.
That's badass.
To get a food truck in Florida, and they're driving the food truck from I think Miami, Florida, all the way back to Los Angeles. And it's just stops they make along the way. And if you worked in a kitchen, I mean, they're working in a fancy kitchen at the beginning, but there's still enough I kind of recognized here and there.
Yeah.
As well as working in the food truck, there's still like phrases and this and that I got. And it was just basically bonding time with his kid and nothing too harsh or dramatic. I was kind of waiting like this is the part where the kid loses the money or the kid fucks up and he yells at the kid and they have to come together at the last minute. Doesn't happen. It's a very relaxed movie that goes at its own pace, and I give it credit for doing that because you don't see that too often.
Well, that's good because that's something I actually don't like, that kind of where like there's somebody's gonna fuck him over or there's a bad guy in the movie. Like there comes a point where it's just like, and I'm not gonna say this.
That's what Boyhood is
for
too.
movies that aren't action movies. Why? It's like, why don't we just have a progressive storytelling film and don't have like where somebody's gonna fuck them over or something like that's gonna happen at some point.
I'll say that Waiting, it's more funny, and I could probably relate more to that just because
I think that captures that.
It's because it's more of like the environment I know, which is a restaurant. This is a food truck. It's more about the guy's relationship and his son than it is about them.
It's not about the food first and foremost.
The foods they show front and center, and it makes you want to eat. It makes you want to go after that movie.
Like,
I went home.
to Applebee's, never going to Chili's, never going.
After I saw that movie,
BJ's.
I went after like when I got home because I was visiting here when I saw that movie. When I got home, like I'm gonna try some fancy shit, and I burnt it like 5 minutes in. Fuck this, and like went and I got some like SpaghettiOs, No, but actually, I did actually try some fancy shit the next day, and actually panned out a little better. So I have a little bit of culinary knowledge, just not the creativity. So,
because Waiting to me, not nearly as good, but it's almost like the Clerks of a restaurant.
Yeah.
Clerks defines what it's like to work in like a convenience type store, or just something where you just kind of wait on people coming in. Being the rental store too. Mm-hmm. The Waiting's kind of like that's what it's like if you work in a restaurant, and that's also what Office Space is if you work in an office. Like they all kind of like relate to that kind of job aspect.
Yeah, definitely.
But no, yeah, I need to check out that one because I'm still on my quest to see as many movies as I can of 2014.
See Boyhood. You gotta be in the right state of mind. Don't be in a rush. I was not aware I was going to watch a two hour and like 50-minute movie. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's
and it's just about a kid growing up too, and it's a good movie still though. But it kind of goes at that same pace. There are some more harsher, more dramatic scenes in that, but it doesn't go by like the acts. Like we got to get to point A before we can get to point B, so we can get this, bring down the bad guy or whatever.
Yeah.
It's literally just this kid's life.
Huh? Yeah, no, I need to check that one out. The ones you need to go check out is you need to check out Noah, and then you should see Willow Creek as well. The Bobcat Goldthwait one, and then what was the one that I saw recently that I knew that you didn't see yet? Oh, you haven't seen Dracula either. Yeah, you did that one. Dracula Untold. There's a bunch of them, so I'm just trying to catch up on as many of them as I possibly can. Mm-hmm. You get that kind of nice little break. I'm still kind of bummed though that no theater's fucking carrying American Sniper with like Clint Eastwood's new picture.
I'd like to see that.
I
I didn't
know.
know it was Clint Eastwood picture, but now I want to see it. If Clint Eastwood was the American Sniper, not Bradley Cooper.
I would have driven 3 hours to go find that movie if that was the case.
What if, like, look, Bradley, like, yeah, people love you a lot.
But they don't love you like Clint Eastwood.
Well, and they don't love you like Clint Eastwood. So, what they really did love was Guardians of the Galaxy. So now, any movie you're in, we're just going to digitally throw in that raccoon, all right? But this movie's based on a true story about a real man. Yeah, I know, but that raccoon's going to sell this bitch. Clint Eastwood's even like, hey, money's money, right?
I know, pretty much. That's what it seems like.
American
and Bradley
raccoon.
Cooper, people like, he doesn't jump out to me as like anything like a selling actor. And I know that everybody else, they're like, oh my god, it's Bradley Cooper. It's just like, I think he's good. Like, whenever I see him, I was like, he's not like a showstopper or anything like that. I'll tell you, he's not fucking Clint Eastwood, and he's not like, a Brad Pitt or something where it's like, I mean, as I said, I've nothing, everything I see him in, he does a great job, but...
For a while, he was like typecast as like the dickhead boyfriend of the girl the main character would want to get with. Then he kind of proved himself in Hangover, and since then, I think Silver Linings...
Oh, is that what he's in? He's in The Hangover?
He was the main... He was like he was the straight man.
Maybe that's why I have this slight, like... There's always... Whenever I see Bradley Cooper and people always are like, oh, I love Bradley Cooper so much. I'm like, yeah, Bradley Cooper, yeah, whatever, fucking... Like, maybe that's probably where it came from. It probably comes from The Hangover, because that's like...
You hate The Hangover.
Yeah, because The Hangover reminds you it's in that same Seth Rogen style of comedy.
I think it's a little bit more broier than that, but on top of that, because I still...
But I'm saying I'm not saying it's
ballpark.
like identical. Let's say this. It's not in that Clerks Office Space style.
Nor
is it in like the Trey Parker, Matt Stone, or something like that.
I will say I like Hangover 1, Hangover 2, same old, same old. It's not like bad or anything. It's just same old, same old. Not real whole lot's changed. Hangover 3 though, it's kind of like we don't really care by this point.
This all starts to make sense now. I know exactly why. Because whenever I see his name, I always have this like slight like,
what is it?
why do I not like this guy nearly as much as I feel like I should? Everybody else seems to really like him. It's like, oh...
See Silver Linings Playbook. He's really good on that.
That movie's another one. I cannot get into that movie.
You see the whole thing?
Uh-huh. And I've seen it a couple times, too.
Really?
Well, I've seen it once, and then I've seen it a couple times while other people were watching it. I don't think it's bad, but it just doesn't feel like my type of movie. I watch it and I just kind of go, yeah, people have problems. I've been there, seen those movies before.
Crazy people?
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't care. I like him a lot as Rocket. I think he does a good job there. I also think people give him a little bit more credit because I think there's a handful of other actors that could have done just a good job.
I would have liked to see John C. Benjamin. Archer.
Oh my... No, I take that back. That would have fucking topped it. But that's because he's a voice actor, and I wish I could see a voice actor play voice actor characters instead of regular actors playing them. But whatever. I think he did a good job in Guardians. In American Hustle, I think that was fine. He's in that one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You
give me this stare like he's not fucking in that
I'm just surprised you didn't like Silver Linings Playbook.
I don't know. Every time
was that a death stare? Was it like the fuck you said?
Yeah. I'm always like, why does everybody like this movie so much? I don't find it that funny, and it's like Robert De Niro's good.
It wasn't like super funny. I was there was parts that were really unsettling.
It has
Robert De Niro cries like you fuck. Robert De Niro fake cry, or just like I don't know how to cry. He's like, oh man, I don't know how to cry, so I'm just gonna make a really weird like Harvey Keitel like siren thing. Because that thing is just when the
or like sort of like who's the other one who? Oh no, it's not Harvey, but in fucking Goodfellas, what's his name's laugh?
Oh, Ray Liotta. It's like I never laughed. Ray Liotta's laughed before.
Like I've never laughed in my life.
He just like drops his lower jaw. Yeah, like I'll sit
so
back
fucking
up
weird and like
holding a cigar.
That's literally one of the most uncomfortable scenes in the movie for me.
It's very unsettling.
I don't know.
I never laughed before. I don't know how it works. Is this how I do it? I'll just hold the cigar like this.
Like Scorsese's just turning around like, are you fucking kidding
like
me?
Mark,
he's never laughed before.
Like Groucho Marx, like like that.
But yeah, Silver Linings. I don't know. It just kind of didn't like jump out at me. It just kind of felt like I don't know. It felt like not like I've seen a movie like identical to that, but just that kind of like
it was a little Dirty
characters
Dancing
with problems. It's just like
with a little bit of Dirty Dancing in there.
Yeah, I just felt like I've seen this before. We kind of have like two kind of like special ed guys running around. Like
in this case, ed girl and guy.
Who?
Special ed girl and guy.
Yeah, girl and guy. Yeah, not like Dumb and Dumber or something like that. But.
Oh no! I just
I'm not saying it was like bad, but I can just tell you like it just wasn't my type of movie. And it's weird because I really like I almost said David Fincher, but
David O. Russell.
Yeah, David O. Russell. I like Three Kings and a lot of his other movies. I like The Fighter, but that kind of like
I know what it is when you see a movie. You're like, oh fuck! No, you're like
no.
You're just like, oh fuck! This has feelings. There's no guns involved.
Yeah, like I only understand when guys have like love for their gun and weapons, like fucking Punisher style.
Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. He's willing to beat the fuck out of anybody to get this toy for his kid.
There's so much love in that movie. Yeah, it was a weird one. Like, I just kind of like, it's like, it's kind of like American Hustle. Like, I enjoyed that movie, but like, I remember like people just thought that was like the greatest thing ever, and I was like,
It was good, but
oh yeah, well, it was like, it's good. It's well, because I can't really imagine owning it. Maybe like pawn shop if you're going like a buying spree where you're buying like 20 movies at once.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, it's like, it was good.
What I liked
but
about-
the main thing I guess was like, did you guys fucking see the other Christian Bale movie that was fucking amazing?
Out of the furnace.
Yeah, that's a great one. I can't wait to see that one again too.
Mm-hmm.
I keep thinking about that one. Go ahead and eat that fucking hot dog. Like that to me.
Fucking hot dog.
There we go. That is a perfect example of a drama movie that has funnier scenes than that movie has a funnier scene in it than all the interview combined. That fucking Woody Harrelson scene in the very beginning steals the fucking show.
Just I don't know, just the fact it's Woody Harrelson and just like she laughs, she's like, what? Like this fucker drives himself. Like turns to her, looks at her. What's so fucking funny? Three of us, the only ones in the theater laughing.
Because that movie was very like dark and intense, but when they had funny moments, holy crap!
I don't know if we were supposed to laugh on that.
I don't think we were either. But oh my god, I think it's just Woody Harrelson. He's just too amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But yeah, that's Silver Linings. I don't know. I just can't get into it.
It's all good.
And strange enough, I'm not a big fan of that actress too either.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer
Lawrence,
Lawrence. I don't think
thank
she's
you.
bad. Like, I mean, like, she's fine in, like, X-Men and whatnot, but...
She was great in, like, American Hustle. She was fantastic in American Hustle.
Oh, yeah, she was really good in that movie. And, I mean, that movie, that's, like, Christian Bale's in it, so it's a little bit different.
But she was, like, the best part of that of American Hustle, I thought. When she's like, don't put... Like, she's just, like, kind of, like, the Welsh, kind of just, like, just drinking way too much, but yet still has some weird kind of charm to her.
And, like, what do they call the microwave in that one again?
The Science Oven.
The Science Oven. I love that one so much.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, should we probably wrap this bad boy up, or...
We can do whatever. I was just looking at my notes. I was like, I know I wrote down stuff at some point.
It's like, oh, fuck, email? Email? Oh.
No.
Give me blue balls here.
Oh. I did have... I think I told you this already, but not on the podcast, that Sega's making their own, like, series of live-action movies.
No. I know that Sonic the Hedgehog's happening, which you mentioned several times. That might get kicked up to PG-13, they're saying.
Yeah, well, I read this article that was saying that Sega's planning on making a bunch of movies / I think also TV series of their classic video games.
So Altered Beast.
Altered Beast, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, Shinobi. I don't know about Alex the Kid, but there's a lot of possibilities out there. Which I'm like, that's fucking badass. That's sort of what... Somebody needs to start kind of making... We've kind of gotten pretty good on the comic book movies, We're at a place where we really can't complain whatsoever anymore. I mean, you can always ask for more, but that's just life in general. Video games are still at that point where they they tried them, then they stopped trying them. They might have tried them again, then they stopped them again, and then now we're at this lull.
Virtua Fighter, probably.
Yeah, Virtua Fighter, I think, was another one on that topic.
I hope they do, like, Jet Grind Radio. I know it's not classic, but that might...
Sort of well, they talked about Crazy Taxi, too, so that was another one. So
they're going to pick this up again. It won't star Queen Latifah.
Yeah, well, we fucked that one up the first time and sold it off.
Well, I'm guessing that's what happened. They probably were making Crazy Taxi. Like, if we don't have to pay for the rights and we just kind of, like, just change the names around, we could probably sell it off as its own thing.
Well, that was just called Taxi, right, too?
Yeah.
So they literally just cut Crazy off.
Yeah.
So I'm like, but, because think about it, like, there really hasn't been a video. I mean, they got that World of Warcraft movie coming up, but it's like CG, so I feel like that's a little bit
It's going to be... I think it's going to be live action. Isn't it like a CG live action hybrid?
I thought it was pure CG.
I think it's live
I saw
action.
the trailer for it, and there was no...
I think that was just for some new expansion pack thing.
But they showed it at the movie theater.
Did they?
Yeah.
I got to see this now. I had no idea that was up. I want to say that it's a live action CG hybrid.
Because when I saw the trailer, it was really good CG, but it didn't have... It was like just a pure, like, cartoon movie.
I'm looking this shit up as soon as we're done here.
But I could be wrong. Maybe I did see something different, but that's what I thought it was. Because it didn't say, like, World of Warcraft the game or anything like that. And did
it just say Warcraft? Because I think they're just calling it Warcraft.
That might have been. I don't know. It's something. It's like I've never really played a Warcraft game, so it doesn't jump out at me.
Because they're calling it Warcraft.
But I am glad to see that they finally are starting to make a video game movie. Because what was the last one that was not straight to DVD?
Prince of Persia is the last one I can think of. I know there's
there's
one
probably been
before
something
then.
between. Like I guess Resident Evil, but that seems different because it's a bunch of sequels.
Prince of Persia is the last one I can think of. I'm sure there's one or two out there. Prince of Persia. Only one coming to my mind right now.
Yeah, so
I'm sure
I'm
there's one or
glad
two
to
out
see
there.
that hopefully Sega if they start doing this, that seems like a smart way. Just like, let's have Sega have the reins of it. So that, because that problem is you give those movies away to people that don't care about video games, and they
get a director.
They pass.
They get a director that may be the right age to play video games, but from a part of the world that doesn't have a lot of video games. Usually like a Russian director. Not saying Russian directors can't do good shit, but a Russian or British director who didn't really play a lot of video games or something.
Yeah, so you get so far away from the source material that, it's that Guardians of the Galaxy thing. Just put, do it how it's supposed to be. And just put 120% of like the effort and money into it, and just let it be what it is, and then it should pan out perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Because when they first announced Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm like, I don't know what that is. I don't give a fuck. I saw pictures of what the characters look like before they showed artwork for the movie. It's like, I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, but I really don't care so much. I mean, I'll probably check it out. It might be decent, but I really not excited for it. And then when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh shit, that looks kind of good. And now like. You got movies starring characters that are some of my favorite characters in comics, and you got this thing with these characters I've never read before, and that movie's better than like a lot of the other Marvel movies.
Well, and the perfect example too is like Guardians of the Galaxy. It's something that nobody knew of, and all these adults that like. You're lucky if they know who Captain America and Spider-Man are. Love the hell out of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
So it goes to show if you just did the same thing with a video game, it'll work just as well. You make a Shinobi movie, you just put all the money you possibly can into it and just make it as good as possible, and people might dig it, even though Shinobi might be a little harder because martial arts movies aren't nearly as popular.
Yeah.
But what
like Stars or Showtime maybe HBO.
Yeah, you can either do that, or like a series is the other way to go about it. Do it kind of Arrow style or what have you. But I think that's just cool, though, that it's coming from Sega themselves. I don't know if that means they're going to be all Japanese movies, but I didn't think of it like that. But I think it's probably, I'm assuming it's supposed to be American.
They were trying that for a little while. Think about it. We'll wrap this up soon. But because when they had, in front of all the Marvel and DC movies, they have the Marvel or DC logo pop up for a second. Usually with its own little kind of like, Marvel has the flipping pages thing. DC had like that for a few of the movies. It's kind of changed a few times. They started doing that with Capcom movies, whether it be like a straight to DVD one or one that went to theaters. Like they had that for like, you're just like a bunch of little clips of like a bunch of little like mini screens of like old games zooms out of the Capcom logo.
Oh yeah, I know.
They had that for the Street Fighter Legend of Chun-Li, and then the Resident Evil straight to DVD movie. So they start that, but then they pull back. They all want to be the next Marvel or next DC. So I think that's what they're trying to do here, maybe.
Yeah, so like hopefully, because we're not that far off. If people can accept comic book, I think they'll be able to accept video games, and that would just be kind of cool. But I think just by having it be Sega, and hopefully Capcom and everybody else would go from there. But that's probably a good place to wrap it up. Well, till then, make sure to go check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, animations, videos, pictures, and so on. Until then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
We will see you some other time.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Check out our website at oldmanorange.com for even more podcasts, cartoons, videos, music, and more. Send us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review us on iTunes, Podomatic, or any of the other fine sites we might be located on. If you want to help out even more, click on the Amazon or GameStop links on our webpage before you make any purchases there. It won't cost you a penny, but it sends us a little something our way. Thanks again, and tune in next week for more Old Man Orange Podcast.